As he's taking care of the farmers, he means the Argentinian farmers, okay? Because that's who actually won big. When China was like, okay, we'll just get our soybean from Argentina instead. Fuck you. Big W. And then Trump was like, well, I would reward you even further. Here is $40 billion. Here is $40 billion. I want to give it to you. I want to give it to you so bad. Javier Milei, this guy, he's so handsome. I'd kiss him. I'd kiss him in the mouth.
And they're foreign country centric. They were sending things into our country, and the people representing them knew full well, but they were sending things into our country, and they were beneficial to other countries, but very, very bad for us. And I stopped it, and we'll just keep it going. So we have we have a totally firm decision now, and I don't think the court meant it, because the court doesn't show great spirit toward our country, in my opinion. A lot of bad decisions, but there are usually ways around it. This is something we could have done, as Justice Kavanaugh said, we could have done this originally, but we're doing it now. And the numbers could be far greater than the hundreds of billions we've already taken in. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'm very curious.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Justice Thomas and Alito, as you know, are the most conservative constitutional justices. Do you think that you'll get to appoint 2 more justices later this term with similar ideologies? And what type of vetting process will they go through to ensure the uphold?
I don't know.
By the way, speaking of Cuba, before we end it here on the Cuba Talks, Stop the Siege on Cuba campaign launch is going to happen on February 22nd. This weekend in 2 days at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, hosted by Brendan James of Noah Colwyn of the Blowback Podcast. So if you are wondering how you can actually play a role here, you can participate that way as well. It's sponsored by DSA IC America's subcommittee, and the byline is the Trump administration has opened a new front in its decades longest on Cuba, cutting off the island's access to oil, choking its energy grid, and accelerating a humanitarian crisis for 10 million people. This is a deliberate act of economic. There's a siege. Join us for the national launch of Stop the Siege, a new DSA campaign to fight its escalation, send material aid, build a powerful legislative push, and change the narrative around Cuba in the United States. We'll be joined by special guests Noah Colwyn and Brendan James of the Blowback Podcast. This is also why it's important. Like, this is not me glazing our boys here or myself here, but like, you never hear this perspective. You never hear this perspective in CNN. You don't hear this perspective in mainstream news at all. All you hear is Ana Navarro talking about how the Contras were awesome and how Cuba deserves less. Okay? So I'm glad that there is independent news out there. I'm glad that independent news exists out there who actually does offer this perspective. Now, obviously, our reach is limited in the grand scheme of things, but we will try to do our very best with the limited amount of power that we have. That is my commitment. My commitment is to the truth. My commitment is to helping people to the best of my ability, and I will continue to do this. And I hope you can too. So for all the haters, all the naysayers, all the people who are like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Are you bringing oil? Are you bringing oil to the island? Like, a big part of this conversation revolves around changing people's minds by showing them the truth, by offering a platform to those who rarely ever get heard. Okay? Everyone has a different role to play here. And you can make that change, just as you all played a role in making this change in the sea shift, in the attitude shift about Palestinian existence, the broad awareness initiatives that you participated in, the direct actions that you participated in, the demands for boycotts that you still continue to participate in. You can play a role. You are not as powerless as those nihilists present you as. And you have to remember that, okay? You have to remember that. Every little bit helps. Don't listen to dumb who don't do anything but just farm drama on the internet. Tell you that every little thing that you're doing is actually irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. If you're not like nuking Washington D.C., then you're not doing the right thing. That you haven't done anything. Okay, I hate that shit. Very, very frustrating. Anyway, let's get back to our dumbass president.
No, but they're great justices. That's all I can say. And I hope they're going to be around a long time. I hope they're going to stay healthy. They're great people. They're great. And Justice Alito, too, to add to the group. These are great men.
Right.
They're with a great love of our country and a great understanding of the law.
Mr. President, are you going to ask Congress to take additional action on tariffs now?
No, I don't need to. It's already been approved. I mean, I would ask Congress and probably get it. When people look at the real numbers,
Cap, no shot.
and you look at hundreds of billions of dollars that have come into our country. Yesterday, I was at a steel plant, as you know, and I went to great place, great plant, great, wonderful people. And they were telling me, I said to them, you were there, a lot of the press in this room. Of course, I don't think this plane's big enough to take the press in this room, but a lot of the press right here. We were in Georgia. And I said to the owner, I made a speech at a factory. They make steel products. And I said, how are you? Nice to meet you. How's business? President, I'd love to kiss you. This is a very powerful man. I don't want to be kissed by that man, but a very powerful, strong man. He's been in the steel business for many years. His father started it. And he said, sir, I want to kiss you. I said, why? He said, because we were down to working 1 hour a week, and then you came in and imposed tariffs, and all of that foreign junk that they were dropping into our country stopped. And we're now going to double shifts, 7 days a week, and we may be very soon going to 24 hours around the clock, almost 7 days a week. He said, sir, I want to kiss you so badly. And I said, no, thank you. But you know what? He just to finalize it, he said, oh, this is a great place in Georgia. He said, all up and down the highway, same exact answer, sir. We're all going out of business. We're going to go bankrupt. We're all going out of business. And now every one of us are thriving, and we're hiring people like we haven't. He said, like I've never, and he's been in business for, I think, 45 years, like we've never hired before. That's because of tariffs. And we're going to keep it going the same way. And you're going to start to see the results in a year from now when all those factories start that are under construction right now. You see all the construction numbers are so good. Those construction workers are building factories that are going to be open, including not only AI, which is big, but car plants coming in from Canada, who ripped us off for 30% of our market. Mexico ripped us off for a big portion. Over the years, they've taken our market. They've taken our cars. They manufacture them in Japan, Germany, and all over the place because nobody's standing in this position. The position I have as President of the United States had the insight, the courage, well, I don't know what it is, to charge tariffs. You can make your product outside. You can put our people out of business. You can put everybody on the unemployment rolls. But if you're going to make a car in some other country, you're going to pay a 15, 20, 30% tariff. And those things would have never happened. We wouldn't have lost our business. Same thing with, as an example, Taiwan. Taiwan came in. They stole our chip business. They make chips. For 30 years longer, they made chip. And they put our companies. Intel would be now the largest company. I saved Intel. I literally saved it at the beginning of this administration. And now all those companies in Taiwan are building factories in Arizona, Texas, and various other places because they don't want to pay tariffs. They're all pouring into the United States. But just like that great patriot said yesterday, sir, what you've done, nobody thought was possible. And Steve Moore, a highly respected economist, came into my office yesterday. He said, you've done something nobody's ever done. 22 Nobel Prize winners in economics said we would right now be in a recession. And you said, no, we're going to have a booming country. We're going to have a booming country. You were right. All 22 were wrong, and you were right. This country is booming, and it's booming because of the election on November 5th, and it's booming for another reason. It's booming because of tariffs. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, what will you say ahead of this decision that if the Supreme Court
please,
rules?
go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. What will you say to foreign nations to their deals? And what did you mean a moment ago when you said that the Supreme Court has been swayed by foreign interests?
Well, I think that foreign interests are represented by people that I believe have undue influence. They have a lot of influence over the Supreme Court, whether it's through fear or respect or friendships, I don't know. But I know some of the people that were involved on the other side, and I don't like them. I think they're real slime balls. And got to do what's right for the country. You got to do what's right for the Constitution. That's why I respect so much Justice Thomas and Alito, Kavanaugh, because they not only dissented, their dissent is so strong. When you read their dissent, You know, a lot of times you'll read a dissent and it's like, well, you don't know, it could go either way. There's no other way. The good news is, it's like Justice Kavanaugh said, very strongly said, you have other ways you can go. You don't have to go that way. You can go other way. There are numerous other ways you can go. And frankly, this should have been done by presidents many years ago. They allowed our country to be eaten alive. We lost 50% of our car business. We used to make cars. We made all the cars. And then Mexico came, Canada came, and Japan and Germany. But they're all coming back now.
Just remember, Donald Trump did NAFTA too, for the record. After running on an anti-NAFTA position, he literally did NAFTA too when that was like one of his first trade deals that he put together. So whenever he talks about that shit, it's like, just know that it's bullshit. Like, he understands. It's even more up because he understands the economic devastation that has been brought about due to NAFTA at the behest of capital, and is still very much a servant of capital first and foremost. He will always do the bidding of wealthy people.
They're all coming back at record levels. No, you please. I'm not talking to you. I don't talk to CNN. It's fake news. Go ahead.
Mr. President, yesterday you made the case that the economy is the hottest it's been in a long time. Right. January jobs report beat expectations, CPI report beat expectation, real wages are up. What would you tell Americans who are worried that this decision will kind of throw the economy that you have projected going in the right direction at a very rapid pace off track?
Well, thank you for the question. And I will say this.
Brother. Oh, my God. I'm going to talk about Iran in a second. Don't worry.
We really are at a very important point. I've been waiting for this decision so long. They could have made this decision a long time ago. Not complex. They're wrong on it. It's a ridiculous decision. But they should have released this a long time ago. We waited months. And that gave uncertainty. Now we have certainty. And I think you're going to see the country get much stronger because of it. Look, we were ripped off by almost every country in the world. If you look at the surpluses, almost every country in the world that did business with us, our people were stupid. And I blame presidents for it because they're ultimately the leader. We were being ripped off by almost every single country in the world had some massive surpluses. China had hundreds of billions of dollars in surpluses with the United States. They rebuilt China. They rebuilt the army. We built China's army by allowing that to happen. I have a great relationship with President Xi, but he respects our country now. Now, what we've done, I charged China a 20% tariff as a penalty for sending fentanyl in. And that was 20 times more than they could make by selling fentanyl. And I said, at some point you're going to say, and they have reduced it. Fentanyl is down by more than 30% coming into our country. Part of that is our strong border. We have a strong border now. But thank you. Thank you for your question.
Mr. President, sir, you warned once in a social media post that if the Supreme Court did this, shot down your tariffs, the U.S. would be, quote, financially defenseless. Are we financially defenseless right now?
No, because we're doing something in a different way. We're doing something in a very powerful way. And we're using things that some people thought we should have used in the first place. But it's more complicated. It's a little more complicated. The process takes a little more time. But the end result is going to get us more money. And I think it's going to be great. Yeah, please. Peter, go ahead.
Thank you, President Trump. So, since Liberation Day, there's about $175 billion in tariff revenue that is now in limbo. Do you have to refund $175 billion?
Think of it, Peter. Very fair question. They take months and months to write an opinion, and they don't even discuss that point. We've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars, not millions, hundreds of billions of dollars. And so I said, well, what happens to all the money that we took in? It wasn't discussed. Wouldn't you think they would have put one sentence in there saying that keep the money or don't keep the money, right? I guess it has to get litigated for the next 2 years. So they write this terrible, defective decision, totally defective. It's almost like not written by smart people. And what they do, they don't even talk about that. Your question is very basic. That was the first question I asked also to make you feel good. I said, what about all the money that we've taken in? Sir, they don't discuss that. How crazy is that?
What you're saying is, are you saying that you don't plan to honor refunds for companies that file for them?
I just told you the answer, right? I told you the answer. It's not discussed. We'll end up being in court for the next 5 years. Go ahead, Green.
Thank you, Mr. President. When you are talking about the relationship with countries that you have sought trade deals with, do you anticipate that they will seek to renegotiate those? What do you say to them, and do you view this as a potential undermining power for your
we're
negotiations?
going straight ahead with 10% straight across the board, which was the absolute right to do. And that's taking place. That's a lot of money coming into our country. And then during that period of about 5 months, we are doing the various investigations necessary to put fair tariffs or tariffs, period, on other countries. So we're doing that period, but we're immediately instituting the 10% provision, which we're allowed to do. And in the end, I think we'll take in more money than we've taken in before.
Mr. President, you've used the tariff revenue to pay for a host of federal policies. You've claimed that they will pay for them. What happens
Well,
to
like the farmers. We took care of farmers. You know, the farmers were mistreated by foreign countries very badly, very, very badly. And last week, I gave them $12 billion out of tariff money. We intend to, out of tariff money, because just so you understand, we have tariffs. We just have them in a different way. And now they've been confirmed by the Supreme Court of the United States. So there's no longer that question out there about tariffs. And we'll be taking in hundreds of billions of dollars.
When he says he's taking care of the farmers, he means the Argentinian farmers, okay? Because that's who actually won big. When China was like, okay, we'll just get our soybean from Argentina instead. Fuck you. Big W. And then Trump was like, well, I would reward you even further. Here is $40 billion. Here is $40 billion. I want to give it to you. I want to give it to you so bad. Javier Milei, this guy, he's so handsome. I'd kiss him. I'd kiss him in the mouth. But I won't do it. You'll call me gay. No homo. I'll kiss him right in the mouth.
And countries that have treated us badly will have to pay a price for treating us badly.
Who is them? What are these supposed farmers farming? Please clarify. Wait, what? I already explained it to you. I just explained it to you. Did you not hear it? When Donald Trump implemented a tariffs war with China, China said, bet we're no longer getting soybeans from the American agricultural soybean producers, which China was purchasing soybeans from, and said, we'll just purchase them from Argentina. So then they turned around and purchased the soybeans from the Argentinian farmers. Good. Soy is gay. Yes. Go tell that to the American heartland, chatter. Take it up with them. They were making China gay with our American soybeans. In an effort to fight against China, we were making China gay with our soy. But now it's Argentinian soy that's making China gay instead of our soy. You can thank Donald Trump for that.
And countries that have been good to us will be treated very well. We just left the top person in a place called Vietnam, just left my office. Great gentleman, strong and smart. I think this means you're allowed to charge us more tariffs than before. And Canada said to Jameson, I might want to say it, Jameson, but Canada said, I hope you win this decision, because if you don't win, you'll actually be allowed to charge us, with a little additional work, higher tariffs. Jameson, you want to comment on that?
Yes, sir. So to the President's point, we have a lot of tools out there. We have Section 122, which will be implemented today. It will be signed today and implemented very shortly. We have Section 301 investigations, which are incredibly legally durable, where we can investigate and address unfair trading practices that have led to our huge trade deficit. And so you can look forward in the coming days and weeks to seeing all of that come out. And
yeah. So unfair. What Laos has done to us is so fucking unfair. When I think about unfair trade practices, immediately my mind rushes and reaches out to Cambodia, a nation state that has for far too long taken advantage of the unfair trade practices between us and them. I think about France. I think about European countries that refuse to purchase our F-450 pickup trucks. Will we make different cars for the European market that are smaller? Sure, sometimes we do that. Okay, but I think we need them to purchase, not selfishly, our chlorinated chicken and our F-450 pickup trucks, and we need them to say we love it. Yeah, Laos, a country in which cybercrime and heroin is over 70% of the GDP. They're taking so much advantage of us. What we need to do is starve them. Okay? What we need to do is right this wrong. They need to purchase, with all of the revenue that they get from the cybercrime, they need to start purchasing American F-150s right now, a fleet of trucks.
We're going to keep continuity in the program.
Also, Brazil, although there's a trade surplus from Brazil, they can still fuck off. Why? Because I felt like it. Okay? I don't like that they're the B in BRICS. So guess what? Brazil, you can get one too. Also unfair. Unfair in a different direction. Okay? Unfair in the opposite direction. I've decided you can also get one too. You notice how stupid this fucking like universal tariffs agenda is when you break it down, even with the logical reasons that they are presenting. If you say it's trade surplus, there's a fuck ton of countries that just cannot make up for that, okay? It's just never going to happen. That's not how anything works, okay? If you say it's a trade surplus related problem, then why the fuck are you tariffing Brazil? That doesn't make sense either. If you say it's fentanyl trafficking, well, that's not an appropriate tool to fucking deal with fentanyl trafficking at all. So I don't even know what that purpose would look like, what purpose that would serve. Like, what are these other countries supposed to do? Also, where is the fentanyl coming from? It's coming from China, and in some instances coming from Mexico as well, like the chemical compounds. But they're not even coming through, the border in the way that Donald Trump has presented it. And if it was actually coming from border crossings, then Mexico has been very compliant with offering additional safeguards to ensure that people actually don't come to the United States of America. They actually
do not come. Do not come.
They remain in Mexico, right? So that doesn't make any sense either. None of it makes sense. And it's ironic because the other reason as to why this like trade protectionism is taking place, trade protectionism only makes sense if you have a domestic industry that is competitive, that can make up for the additional demand. We don't really have that for many of these things that we're fucking offering trade protectionism to, such as coffee, which simply is not made in the United States. Like you can't just make coffee. You can't just like grow coffee like that. Okay. We just don't have the fucking climate for it. Okay. And plenty of other goods as well, cocoa, coffee, things like that. But on top of that, there is no domestic put that we are heavily investing in right now, and neither are the fucking foreign companies. They're not doing that either. He just says they keep giving us assurances over and over again that they're going to give us tens of trillions of fucking dollars, and that's it.
We're going to keep addressing this so that the deficit can keep going down. That's the trend it has, and we can make America great again.
No.
Several of Republicans in Congress have supported this decision by the Supreme Court, and Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader, has called you a wannabe king. Why wouldn't
him a low IQ?
But why wouldn't
he doesn't even know? And I watched him the other day interview. The guy doesn't even know what a tariff is.
But there's been bipartisan criticism.
No, not bipartisan.
Of the tariffs.
Excuse me.
There's several Republicans
people
have said that.
Yeah,
But
a
why
few people.
wouldn't you just work with Congress to come up with a plan?
I don't have to.
To push tariffs.
I have
through?
the right to do tariffs, and I've always had the right to do tariffs, and it's all been approved by Congress. So there's no reason to do it. All we're doing is we're going through a little bit more complicated process. Not complicated very much, but a little more complicated than what we had. We'll be able to take in tariffs, more tariffs. And the Congress people and the Congress,
down the Canadian tariffs last week.
Yeah,
There's been votes in the Senate against it.
Yeah, because we lost 2 Republicans or 3 Republicans because they're not good Republicans. What you don't say, you don't say that we got 215 votes.
You need 218 for something to pass.
Yeah, sure we do. We might have lost 3 votes, and what was the score on the Republican side? 215 to 3, right? But you don't say that. We have great unity. There's great unity in the Republican Party, and I hope everyone's going to vote Republican, because otherwise you won't have a country left, because these people have been they are destroying our country. Please.
Mr. President, the 122 tariffs, that 10%,
Yeah.
Is that going to be for 150 days, or do you want to charge that indefinitely?
We have a right to do pretty much what we want to do, but we're going to charge it starting effectively. I think it's 3 days from now. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, you speak to a lot of factory workers, a lot of manufacturing workers. What does the Supreme Court ruling say? What's that message to those factory workers?
Well, I think the factory workers are happy because we're now telling them that they're going to look. Met with yesterday, who owned a factory, was out of business. He was out of business. And now he's employing 5 times. In fact, I walked in, he's got a brand new crane. I said, how old is that crane? We got it in December. He's allowed to write it off in 1 minute. The Great Big Beautiful Act gave no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. He said this great big beautiful bill, frankly, has been the best thing that's ever happened for the workers of the, much more so than for rich people. The only thing it does for rich people, it allows them to hire a lot more people. But when I saw him, and then he said, it's all up and down the line. This is a place in Georgia, all up and down, other factories doing different, not only steel products, different. He said, every one of us was out of business. We could barely make it. Some of them were down to less than an hour a week. Think of it, 1 hour a week to make just a few little trinkets or whatever they make. Now they're going round the clock. I had it a month ago. I went to Michigan, went to Ford, and I met with Bill Ford, the head of Ford, and we were in one of the biggest plants, an original plant from the early 1900s, where, by the way, I might add this, it's not really relevant, but it's all relevant. Murders are down the lowest since 1900, around the time that he had this plant. That's 125 years. We have the lowest murder rate. Okay. And our crime is way down in the country. The factories that we're talking about, the people that we're talking about, they are so thrilled with Trump. So whether we charge IEEPA tariffs or whether we charge tariffs under a different section, that's
yeah. Factories were so on board when he visited the Ford facility. The UAW rank and file was calling him a pedophile protector.
We're going to be doing. There's no way we can ever. This is what happened to our country. This is why we owe $38 trillion, which we'll get rid of in pretty good course. We have a very incompetent Fed chairman who likes high interest rates. For political reasons, he likes them. But we're going to have somebody very good. Interest rates should come down very substantially. I think we should pay the lowest interest rates on the planet. There should be no country, and we don't do that. We're number 38. This is just bad policy for a long period of time. But what's happened is we've made America strong again. We've made America great again. We should pay. As an example, the country of Switzerland, we were getting almost no tariffs from them. We had a $40 billion deficit. And the prime minister called me up. She said, but we are a small country, because I said we're going to raise it to 39% from nothing. That would have rendered them not very successful, as opposed to right now they're considered elite. But if we put a tariff, they would, and I realized then, she said, but sir, we are a small country. I said, you're a small country with a big deficit. For us, you're making a lot of money off the United States. If we do that, a lot of these elite countries, they're elite because we let them make so much money. And I want them to do well, but I don't want them to do well.
There's only one group, even within the capitalist class, there's only one group that is made out like bandits in this new trade design, okay? Before Donald Trump came in and decided to like switch it around a little bit. And that is finance capital. Okay, if you're a real estate guy and you're mad about it, or your buddies are fucking frustrated with the way things have gone, why are you dick riding finance capital? Why don't you actually call them out? Why don't you? And why are you also giving them additional rewards right now? I mean, Howard Lutnick is standing right next to him. Howard Lutnick is literally standing a couple feet away from him, smiling from fucking ear to ear. He's like, yeah, it's great. It's great. It's been great, Mr. President. You're doing great. You're doing fucking fantastic for me. It's crazy. And obviously, Big C Capital is already across the board made out like bandits because they've just like They've just moved into the world of finance capital. That's it. That's why every major company, every major industry in this country is now a bank, okay? You know, we don't build things. We don't make things anymore. It's just pure speculation, stock buybacks, and financial engineering. That's all it is. Every company is a fucking bank. Starbucks is a bank. Apple is a bank. Boeing is a bank. And that's what I mean when I say finance capital. And then we just get mad. We're like, why don't we build shit anymore? I don't know, dumbass. Maybe because your solution to the problem of debankifying all of the big titans of industry is making them behave more like banks. This is what happens when you're rudderless, when you are a servant of capital that simply does not want to change the system at all. He just wants to have the appearance of moving and shaking.
On the backs of the American taxpayer. So I appreciate your question. I think it's
President Trump, you said that you were disappointed with that, but were you surprised with this decision?
Why are you stuck in this loop? You already know. Move your chat further. Jesus fucking Christ. What?
What you felt when you...
I was surprised.
Sorry, hold on. Let me hit the Revolution Now button.
I'm gay and Lebanese.
Sorry, that's the wrong button. Hold on. I got the right one. The Revolution Now button.
I hate white people. I hate white people.
Okay, it's not happening. Maybe this one?
Blammo.
It's time.
Blammo.
Communism now.
Blammo.
Surprised because I thought that what we did was, number one, according to, I mean, I read the paragraphs. I read very well. Great comprehension. I read everything there is to read, and I said, we can't lose this case. But we can when judges are political, when they want to be politically correct, when they're catering to a group of people in D.C. Maybe, I don't know what it is, because when you read it, there's no other interpretation. There is no other interpretation. But it's okay, because what has come out, and I'll say it for the third time and maybe the last time in a while, is that we've taken the uncertainty of tariffs out, because we had uncertainty. We got sued by sleazebags. I know.
Yeah, he's literally saying it's good. He spent the first 35 minutes saying it's very bad. And now he's saying, but it's good actually. Right? He's like, it's very bad that the Supreme Court took away my power to issue tariffs in this ridiculous manner. But also we have other options. But also it's good that they took this power away from me, because now we have certainty. Fucking awesome.
Well, that are very outside country, China-centric, but outside country-centric. And they're going to end up not doing as well as they did before. America was becoming really, we're strong again. Hey, we have the strongest military.
What the fuck is that, bro? Fuck your stupid mods. That shit is annoying as fuck. Stop playing that shit. No one wants to hear that dumb fuck second time I've tuned into the stream to hear that shit through my speakers. Chat, show this charlatan whether or not you actually appreciate the soundboard. Subscribe now to the Parker Broadcasting Service and gift subs now to the Parker Broadcasting Service if you actually like the fucking soundboard. Now, the reason why look, there you go. There you have it. Say to it, Ron. I think the people want this. Okay, hold on. I think, where the fuck is it? I keep losing. I have so many buttons on this bad boy. It's crazy. Okay. First of all, congratulations. I think that people actually do really like the soundboard. That's number one. Number two. Okay. Cat. You're a cat. You need to stop being a cat. Okay. You're shedding too much. Bro, this is Dick Suck Mountain all over again. No, for me, I don't think these guys understand that. How did Chapo get Kyrie on before you? Chapo had Kyrie Irving on? Shut the fuck up. No, I just DM'd Kyrie Irving. I was like, King, please come on the broadcast. Ain't no fucking way. They got Chapo did? I just got guest mogged. Unk is chopped. It's over. R.I.P. to me. I got no motion. I got no motion. So the thing I was gonna say about the soundboard is like when people say shit like this, when people say stuff like this, I don't really mind it. You know, it might not be for you, but from my perspective, the reason why I like the soundboard is whenever someone says something like annoying, I can just like out of it. Wait, full Chapo interview with Pablo Torre? Ain't no fucking way. Bro, Kyrie Irving hates me. I swear to God, he must. Bro, he's on the platform that I'm on. For years, I've been trying to get him on. For a year, I'm texting Pablo. I will do unspeakable things. You haven't covered the flat earth. Okay, shut up. Don't even bring that up. Kyrie Irving said, I hate the soundboard. Fuck that. I was a sub. I canceled. Is it because
I'm gay and Lebanese?
Is that what it is? He heard you bought all his shoes, bro. I did. I bought all of his fucking shoes. Bro's 43 and uses a soundboard. I think y'all are haters. Y'all are hating ass bitches, bro. Chill. You need more ball talk clips. No, Kyrie and I are not going to talk about ball. Let's be real. Why is the fucking light so crazy in the middle of the day? I don't understand. Uh-oh. Have you watched a skateboarding journalist, Gifted Hater Joe? He's a way better soundboard than you. Studies soundboard usage, please. No. Anyway, let's continue. I know enough ball to know that ball is life.
We built the military in the first term. We have the most powerful military. We make the best equipment. And even them, you know, we could do much better. We have people that get paid a lot of money to manufacture Patriot missiles and javelins and all the different things. But when you want them, they're too slow. And we put them on notice, and they're going to make, our country is building a lot of things right now, and our country is doing really well, and we're going to keep it that way. The bottom line is that the word certainty is now in the equation. Every single thing I said today is guaranteed certainty. It's been tested, as Jameson said 1,000 times. Literally, I said hundreds of times. He said, sir, actually thousands of times, and won in all of the courts. And we're just going back to that.
She's roast chicken.
The problem is that we had other presidents that weren't into trade. Maybe they weren't business oriented. Maybe they weren't smart. We had some dummies too, you know. I respectfully say we had some real dummies. So we are going to keep it going just as before, probably more so. But you're no longer going to be asked, every time I got up, you'd ask, well, what happens if you can't charge tariffs? Now we can. And by the way, in their decision, they specifically said, we can do these. We have alternatives. Yeah.
David, on the trade deals that were negotiated.
Maybe if Kyrie knew you had a Black Hebrew Israelite mod, he'd come on. Yeah, that's true. I'm going to tell him that.
Using IEEPA tariffs. Yeah. Do those stand now, or are they have to be redone?
Well, some of them stand. Many of them stand. Some of them won't. And they'll be replaced with the other tariffs.
Supreme Court justices who ruled against this the policy, striking it down, are they still invited to your State of the Union next week? And will you speak with them?
They are invited, barely. Barely. 3 are happily invited. No, they're barely invited. Honestly, I couldn't care less if they come. Okay? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the trade deal, which is the framework which is to be signed with India sometime soon, will that stand now? And on the decision, nothing changes?
No, nothing changes. They'll be paying tariffs. And we will not be paying tariffs. Our deal with India is they pay tariffs. This is a reversal from what it used to be, as you know. India, and I think Prime Minister Modi is a great gentleman, a great man, actually. But he was much smarter than the people that he was against in terms of the United States. He was ripping us off in India. So we made a deal with India, and it's a fair deal now. And we are not paying tariffs to them, and they are paying tariffs. We did a little flip.
And the markets are up as of now for this.
Mr. President. No, the India deal is on here.
Mr. President. Thank you so much, Mr. President.
All the deals are on it. We're just going to do it a different way.
Mr. President. Thank you so much, Mr. President. I think there's another war that you stopped and you should take the credit, which is in Syria. Secretary Rubio, after his meeting in Munich with the Syrian Foreign Minister and the Kurdish General HasanAbi, he said that President Trump was directly involved in efforts to stop the fighting between the Kurds and the Syrians. How will your administration make sure that this peace is sustained? And do you support the idea
Well, it's a very different topic. And so I don't...
Anyway, here's one more aspect of the Howard Butnick situation. So Howard Butnick has a scheme in play here. I think it's I have the article here somewhere, but basically, the way that they designed the tariff situation is that that Howard Lutnick's sons, who are still a part of Cantor Fitzgerald, okay, who run Cantor Fitzgerald, they've been buying up the rights to from U.S. importers at pennies on the dollar, right? U.S. companies paid billions in tariffs that are now ruled illegal, okay? Cantor Fitzgerald approached those companies and said, I will give you 25 cents now for every dollar you're owed in refunds. So when those refunds are forced into those refunds are forced, like when the companies go back and force the government to pay back all of the entry fees that they paid to the companies for all the lost revenue, because now that it's like rendered illegal, Howard Lutnick will make all of that money. Like every single thing that they purchased for 25 cents, they will get $1 on. It is fucking insane, which is part of the reason why he's been having such a good time. Okay? He's been having such a grand old time here because when the refunds kick in, they collect the full $1. This is, I don't know how else to describe it other than like, I mean, it's just insider trading completely. Like it's just the most transparent insider trading of all time, because as the fucking commerce secretary, he knows what is going to happen, right? Like he has direct decision-making power in Trump's orbit. He knows how the lawyers operate behind the scenes. He is using the insider information he has within Trump's orbit to make this legal bet. It's fucking crazy. Yeah, making 25 cents on the dollar for $150 billion, by the way. That's what we're talking about. The level of personal enrichment is crazy. Semaphore says that it's not correct, even though Wired reported in July that Cantor was among the Wall Street firms pitching a financial product tied to the outcome of the Supreme Court case. It cited an email sent by Cantor salesman that said the firm had already put a trade through representing about $10 million in trade refund rights and anticipates that number will balloon in the coming weeks. 2 Democratic senators call for an investigation into the CEO of one of the country's largest import logistics firms, and this amplified the story. Cantor's founder, Howard Lutnick, is Trump's commerce secretary. You already know all that. Cantor did not consider the product, which has existed for years. According to the president said at a White House press conference flanked by Lutnick that he would reinstate the tariffs on different legal grounds. Cantor did not consider the product, which has existed for years and was a humming trade on Wall Street during Trump's first term tariff push, but decided against it after weighing the political sensitivities, according to a senior banker familiar with the matter. A Cantor spokesman said the salesman erroneously believed that the firm was likely to greenlight the business, then went out looking for the other side of the trade. Cantor Fitzgerald has never executed any transaction or taken risks on the legality of tariffs, he said. Any report suggesting otherwise is completely false. We'll see. This appears to be rooted in a common Wall Street practice. A salesperson gets an inbound bid and goes out to go gin up the other side of the trade, ideally first checking with the higher-ups to make sure that this is the business the bank wants to do. Ironically, this business Cantor should have been doing. It bought and sold claims during the collapse of crypto exchange FTX in 2022 and is active in the broader universe of financing legal risk trades, connecting companies that might be owed tariffs refunds to hedge funds that are willing to buy those future payments at a discount is what investment banks do all the time. The fact that Cantor didn't suggests is keenly sensitive to the optics of Lutnick's role. Trump's critics in the media have documented plenty of cases of self-dealing around the Trump White House, but this doesn't appear to be one of them. Cantor has clearly benefited from his ties to Lutnick, becoming a big underwriter of deals aligned with the administration's crypto, AI, energy, and national security agenda. As the lead banker to an investor in stablecoin company Tether, it holds billions of dollars in treasury bonds, which has brought criticism about a conflict of interest. Trump's pressure on the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates would make existing bonds more valuable. So I guess the initial Wired reporting, perhaps maybe after the initial Wired reporting, they didn't follow through on facilitating this trade. I might have been wrong if there's new reporting now that suggests that Cantor Fitzgerald is rejecting the claims that it sold this product. So at least this aspect of pure graft is at this point being denied, being rejected by Cantor Fitzgerald. I don't know. I don't know if it's the case. I don't trust this administration or anyone that is even remotely associated with this administration. So who knows?
I don't want to spend a lot of time, but all I can say is that the president of Syria, who I essentially put there, is doing a phenomenal job. He's a rough guy.
I will continue, for the record, I will continue to investigate that lead further. And if there's new information, I'll update you guys on whether or not Cantor Fitzgerald actually did process this this swap or not.
He's not a choir boy. A choir boy couldn't do it. But Syria is coming together well. And thus far, he's been very good to the Kurds. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President, what's your message to the Iranian people after 2 rounds of talks with them? Do you have any message to the Iranian people?
The Iranian people in Iran or people here?
People in Iran.
They better negotiate a fair deal. You know, the people of Iran are a lot different than the leaders of Iran. And it's very, very sad situation. But 32,000 people were killed over a relatively short period of time. They were going to hang 800, 2 weeks ago, hang, some by crane. They lift them up with a tall crane, and they play them around the square. They were going to hang 837 people. And I gave them the word, if you hang one person, even one person, that you're going to be hit right then and there. I wasn't waiting 2 weeks and negotiating. And they gave up the hanging. They didn't hang 837. Supposedly, they didn't hang anybody. But no, I feel very badly for the people of Iran. They've lived in...
Which is why I'm going to bomb them. I'm going to bomb and kill them. If you had to choose, or else the entire world blows up, suck a dick or vote for Trump in 2028, I'd suck a dick. What do you mean? I don't give a shit.
Hell, please.
Bro, people have asked me this question before. They're like, oh, would you suck a dick for like everyone in America to have health care? Like, yeah, Trump's dick, I'll suck that too. I don't give a shit. It's a one-off. It's literally a one-off dick suck for so much financial freedom. Who wouldn't? You would have to be the most evil person on the planet to say no to that.
You mentioned multiple times foreign influence over the Supreme Court. Do you have evidence of that? And if not, will you investigate that?
You're going to find out.
What alternatives are you going to put into place in your relationship with Europe, and also those tariffs that have been called illegal? How they're going to go impact the relationship with Russia, your sanctions?
Well, I want Europe to strengthen up. Europe has gone woke. Europe is not recognizable when you go into so many places. Not all countries. You look at Hungary. You look at Poland, Czech, Slovakia. There are some countries that have gone very much the opposite. Some really, and some others. But Europe has to be strong, and they become soft and not recognizable. You go into some of the countries, I don't want to be specific, but I think everyone knows what I'm talking about. And they're not recognizable. They become, the environmentalists have taken over. They've got windmills destroying their fields and their beautiful meadows and their oceans, and they're paying a fortune. Now, Europe has to get smart. Europe's getting killed on two things, energy and immigration. And if they don't solve both of them fast, Europe is not the same place. Yeah, please.
Justices Gorsuch and Barrett, are you surprised in particular by their decision today? And do you regret nominating them?
I don't want to say whether or not I regret. I think their decision was terrible. Yeah. I think it's an embarrassment to their families. You want to know the truth? The two of them. Yeah.
Specifically on that $2,000 tariff check.
Mr. President.
I didn't call you.
You didn't call me?
Yeah, Mr. President, to be clear, do you believe at the end of implementing these new tariff tools, the tariff rate and tariffs will ultimately be higher than they currently are?
Potentially higher. How much higher? It depends, whatever we want them to be. But we want them to be fair for other countries. And, you know, we have some countries that have treated us really badly for years, and it's going to be high for them. And we have other countries that have been very good, and it's going to be very reasonable for them.
Yeah. So specifically on the tariffs question, I mean on the $2,000.
I didn't call you.
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. President. Do you have any plans to travel to India for the Quad Summit, and how do you think your relationship with India is right now?
I think my relationship with India is fantastic, and we're doing trade with India. India pulled out of Russia. You know, India was getting its oil from Russia, right? And they pull way back at my request because we want to settle that horrible war where 25,000 people are dying every month. And my relationship with Prime Minister Modi is, I would say, great. I also stopped a war between India and Pakistan, as you know. There were 10 planes we shot down. That war was going and probably going nuclear. And just yesterday, the Prime Minister of Pakistan said President Trump saved 35 million lives by getting them to stop. That's and I did it largely with that.
Okay, fuck this shit. All right.
This is one of the most significant cases that the justices have decided in recent years. Here, the Supreme Court ruling that President Trump's use of these emergency tariffs that he has implemented are illegal. It's the most significant economic case to reach the high court in years, sweeping implications for the economy.
Yeah, we got Tucker Carlson talking to Fuckabee as well. Obviously, that's going to be another big one. Tucker Carlson is back from Israel. He reveals like his detainment process, stuff like that. But then also had a conversation with Mike Fuckabee, one of the biggest freaks, and that's an enlightening conversation as always. So we'll talk. I mean, we'll tune into that too.
And of course, for presidential power, and at stake here are billions of dollars in revenue that have already been collected by the government. Pamela Wolf, the other significance here is that this is the first time that the 6-3 conservative court has ruled against President Trump in one of these major cases that have gone before the court since he returned to power in January. Now, we are still going through this case, but this is something we have been waiting for. The court said that it would take up this case on an expedited basis. So they're deciding, even though it's a significant case now, because of course this has enormous implications. So as we go through this opinion now with our team, another outstanding question is what now happens to all that revenue that had been collected? This is something it really wasn't clear from the arguments what they would say about that, if they're going to lay out a plan. So we will continue to go through this, but this is an enormous decision and a rare loss for President Trump before this conservative court.
This is, Paula, a major slap at the President of the United States, who has made a major effort over these many, many months to impose all of these tariffs. And just to look at some of the background I have here, over these many months, the administration has collected $150 billion in these tariffs. So what happens to that money? Do they have to refund that money to the firms, to the people who paid for those tariffs?
That's one of the big questions that came up at arguments, and it's something that we're looking through now in this opinion. The top line is that these are illegal, that the president cannot rely on this 1977 emergency law to impose tariffs without authorization from Congress, because this question is really about the extent of presidential power. And we know in both his terms in office, President Trump has really worked at the edges of what has largely been recognized as executive authority. But in these arguments back
refund
in November, they went on for.
Of course, if you think as a consumer you're going to get a refund on all of the price hikes that you had to pay for, that's not going to happen. Companies will get a refund, though, probably, if they fight hard enough in the courts.
2.5 hours, it was clear that the justices were skeptical that President Trump could rely on this vague federal law to impose global tariffs. Now, they did appear to likely be willing to decide that these were illegal, but what is not clear, we haven't gotten to this part of the opinion, is what happens to all that revenue that has been collected by the government. And President Trump has said himself that this is, this is a massive decision for him. So we're waiting for reaction, both from the Justice Department that argued this on his behalf and also from the White House. But we're going to keep going through this, Wolf, to try to see if the justices laid out any plan for what happens to that revenue.
All right, Paula, stand by. I know you're going to be reading all these the opinions and everything. I want to get back to you, but I want to bring in our senior legal analyst, Ellie Honig, right now. Ellie, as I said, this is a huge setback for the President of the United States, and this has been a traditionally conservative Supreme Court, but they ruled that all of these tariffs that Trump has imposed over these many months are illegal. It's a big deal.
Well, Wolf, it's a monumental ruling, and the bottom line is that the tariffs Donald Trump announced back in April on Liberation Day are gone. They have been ruled illegal by this U.S. Supreme Court. An interesting...
Which I would like to... It serves me... It brings me no joy or pleasure to report this, but as of today, everyone on the Supreme Court is Chinese. That's right. clearly they are all Chinese. And we have to do what we have to do. We have to get them out of there. We have to get whoever the next president has to bring in non-Chinese Supreme Court justices. They're Russian and Chinese, but also sometimes Russia is good. And sometimes China is good too. So I guess like they're Iranian. That's right. The one country that's never good, Iranian. They are from Iran. Just, I hope you understand. Sorry, that's just what it is. They are compromised by Iran.
Array of justices here. In the majority, ruling that the tariffs are illegal is Chief Justice Roberts, Justice Gorsuch, and Justice Amy Coney Barrett, three conservatives who teamed up with
three conservative Iranians.
With the three liberal justices, Sotomayor, Kagan, and Jackson, to rule these tariffs unconstitutional. The dissenters are Justices Thomas, Alito, and
they're calling her Amy Cuba Barrett because she's the Iranian Cuban in the Supreme Court.
Kavanaugh. And the basis for the ruling is this. Congress, not the president, Congress typically holds the tariff power. Now, Congress passed this law back in 1977 called the International Economic Emergencies Act. And Donald Trump tried to use that law to say, well, I'm declaring an international economic emergency, therefore I'm imposing tariffs. But the majority here said, no, that law does not authorize you to impose tariffs, and no, there is not a valid international economic emergency here. So the end result, and we are still going through this, but the end result is that Donald Trump's tariffs have been struck down by the U.S. Supreme Court. But really important point I want to make, Donald Trump has said, various White House officials have said, if he loses on this basis, he will try to re-implement other tariffs through other laws, which he can try to do. However, those other laws are much more restrictive. They would not allow him to apply the type of sweeping, massive, across the globe tariffs that he tried to impose here, but have now been struck down. Look, Donald Trump said the important thing he has done in his presidency. He said that, and now they've been struck down by the court.
So you're right. The administration has made clear that if the court strikes this down, that they'll look at other tariff authorities to use. But bottom line here, Ellie, how big of a mess does this ruling create, given the fact that the administration says it has already received $150 billion in revenue, largely paid for by American businesses? Do they get a refund? What happens now?
Yeah, so it's hard to think of a case that has broader implications politically and legally and economically than this one. I know a lot of people are watching for this one. We don't yet have the answer. This was a question that came up during the oral argument. Amy Coney Barrett, in particular, asked the lawyers, well, what do we do with the $100+ billion that have already been paid by American importers, by American manufacturers? We're going to look carefully at this. I know Paul is reading this very carefully, but that's a huge question. Will there be some sort of mass refund program? Will the court rule that the tariffs are dead from here on out? But there are no. We'll let you know as soon as we get an answer to that one.
All right, as you noted, Paula has been reading through the opinion. I want to go back to Paula Reed because we know that three conservatives sided with the liberals on the court, and you have a quote from one of those conservatives, right, Paula?
That's right. Well, this is Chief Justice John Roberts, who wrote the majority opinion where the court agreed 6-3 that President Trump's tariffs exceed his power under the law. He wrote, quote, the president...
Tariff rebate checks, God bless Trump. It's not happening. Chatter, that's so funny. Like, you paid for the tariffs with increased prices. That's far too costly to calculate. It's not going to happen. The refund checks are going to the corpos who paid a decent percentage of that entry fee. If there are any legal battles that will get, stuck in the courts at all, of course, in the process, the federal government will be spending a shit ton of money on lawyers to make sure that they don't pay anything back. So someone's making money. It's just not you.
Well, it's going to be a food fight going after $175 billion, isn't it? So
I got a feeling the American people won't see it.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I'm just saying, like, what were you thinking? What were you thinking? This is the rug pull presidency, baby. At most, corporations might get refunds from the government because of Trump's illegal tariffs. Those corporations raise prices because of those tariffs, meaning more money out of your pockets, but you get nothing. So all in all, another massive transfer of wealth to the top. And it won't even be corporations because some of those corporations already sold off the debt, or And we don't know if the Lutnick firm, Cantor Fitzgerald, actually, is facilitating this now, but it'll be whoever on Wall Street that purchased that debt, like that purchased the tariff repayments. It is pretty funny though that people also think that corporations will now turn around and like lower their prices. That's also another funny aspect. That's also another funny concept. That's not going to happen either. If you think like, oh, well, they raised prices because they adjusted to the entry fee that they were paying. Now there's going to be a lower entry fee because Donald Trump is still maintaining like 10% tariffs and shit like that, right? For as long as he possibly can. No, that's not going to happen. You see, that's not how this works. It, again, gives me no pleasure to report that the prices are not going to come down because the prices don't come down. That's not how that works at all. So, have fun with that reality. Almost feels like the system is designed this way, but what do I fucking know? I'm just a dumb commie, socialist, Marxist, terrorist, anti-Semite.
Asserts the extraordinary power to unilaterally impose tariffs of unlimited amount, duration, and scope. In light of the breadth, history, and constitutional context of that asserted
What is that background audio?
authority, he must identify clear congressional authorization to exercise it. And we knew that the Chief Justice would be a key vote after what we saw at arguments. Now, we are still going through this. I want to show you, this is about a third of the opinion. It's 170 pages long. This is just a fraction of it. Wow. So we're going through it very carefully to try to understand what, if anything, the court said about what happens to all that revenue the government has already collected. I know that's a big question right now. We are carefully going through this to see if they laid out a plan, if this goes back to the lower courts. That's what we're working to figure out right now.
And a quick question from me, Paula. Do the tariffs immediately go away as of right now, or does it take a few days or at least maybe a few weeks for them to be removed?
Well, they've been declared by the Supreme Court to be illegal. So we're going through to see if they laid out some sort of plan. But as of right now, people should not have to pay a tariff today or tomorrow, one would think. But we're looking to see, because the logistics of this are so complicated, to see if the justices waded into that, or if all of that is going to be something that's now going to be tossed down to lower courts now that the justices have ruled on the larger constitutional question here, the separation sort of powers and who has the authority to do this, right? Because while this has enormous economic implications, really this was a question about the extent of executive power. We know President Trump really plays at the edges of that. And again, this is a rare loss for President Trump since he has returned to office before this conservative court. So we're going to keep waiting through what they said to work out the details.